Hi, this is Paul Roscoe with the Okmulgee News Network, and today we're going to talk to two special people that just moved to town, and they're going to have a lot to do with the education of our young folks here in Okmulgee. Today we have Mr. Marlon Houston, welcome, and his wife, LaKinda Houston.
Yes.
Thank you. And your job is going to be at the school. What are you going to be doing?
Well, first I'm going to be teaching middle school social studies, I believe 6th and 7th grade at the middle school. Then also I'll be the head wrestling coach and heading up the wrestling program here. And I'll be assisting the high school and junior high football.
The subject you got, how do you make that interesting for the students?
Well, you definitely, nowadays you got to teach on your feet. You got to have activities planned when class begins, throughout the class period. But you just try to make it more interesting with the way the current education is changing. Everything is being more to date, I guess, more technology. I use a lot of that. I use an iPad or show things on a computer screen projector versus the old school projector.
Chalkboard.
Yeah. We still, we work out of the books as well, but you also bring in another curriculum along with what you're working with that kids are more accustomed to using these days.
So you encourage participation from the student to talk back about the subject.
That's the plan. That's the plan, and it usually works. Kids, especially at that level, 6th and 7th grade, kids are they're very used to learning that way because they're just coming off of the elementary level, and elementary teachers are some of the best teachers.
Okay,
in the world.
and LaKinda, you're going to be in 2nd grade, right?
Second graders, yes. And
how long have you been teaching 2nd graders?
I have been teaching a total of 13 years, but I've taught across the spectrum, 1st through 5th.
And the value of education children start at is really important, and to also get parent participation. Don't you agree?
Yes, absolutely. Without the parents are the first teachers, and so without parent involvement and their help and support, it's impossible. My job is impossible to do without their support.
We need more parental involvement.
Absolutely.
We're starting to get that here in the Okmulgee schools a little bit more than it has been in the past, and we look forward to you coming in. They've got good facilities there. They've got a good library there. You'll find it's to your liking, everything you got there. The middle school again is also in very good shape. They just expanded their library there. And okay, you're also a wrestling coach.
Yes, sir. So
what do you teach them? The headlock, or do you?
Oh, well, yeah. You teach them. First things first, teach them how to get out of the headlock, because that's usually the toughest move for a beginner wrestler to learn. But yeah, got to build a foundation, a strong wrestling foundation. And so the fundamentals is what I'm really going to focus on, especially coming in. And when I talk about the foundation, we really need to work with our youth wrestling program. Make sure the numbers are where they need to be. I've heard that they've done a pretty good job so far with numbers. It's one of the things that attracted me to Okmulgee is the interest in the numbers that they had out for wrestling was pretty good. I think they've had 2 or 3 coaches within the last 3 or 4 years, so get a little stability there and a strong foundation there, and then that way the program can move forward to where I think the program could actually reach.
And as I said before, the wrestling program, the sport builds character in an individual, because he's one-on-one. He has to depend on himself, right?
Yes. The life skills that I think that gave me an advantage through wrestling really helps shape you into manhood, teach you responsibilities, and the biggest focus that I want to get out of my program is for the kids to have some structure and to understand what good discipline means. A lot of times when you think about discipline, people think that means when you step out of line. When I'm talking about discipline, I'm talking about being focused, make sure that you do the things that are important, the small things that make big changes and can affect the outcome overall.
It's a sport you really can carry all your life, just from what you learn. You're talking about the character points. You can carry that for the rest of your life.
It's hard work. It's an individual sport with also a team concept, and it's a very tough sport. I always tell people, wrestling is kind of like a long distance running. You know, either you love it or you hate it. And you know, anyone that has wrestled, whether they like the sport or not, they always respect it and appreciate the sport after they've been around it.
Yes, sir. That's right, exactly. What are you looking forward to coming to Okmulgee as far as the teaching?
I love children. I love the kids. I love to be around the kids. They're energetic, they're enthusiastic, and I try to teach that way also, enthusiastically, right there with them.
What do you see the definite need for kids today as far as reading or comprehension?
Well, of course, reading and math are always at the top of the list, especially with the Oklahoma, from an Oklahoma teacher standpoint. We need to have our kids strong in reading and math, definitely.
Have you seen Mrs. Bagby's garden out there?
Yes, I have, and I've already got a plot. She's given me a plot, so one is mine. My classes. We're going to take ownership of it and work it and work
kids
hard.
are really taking, like you said, ownership of it.
Yes.
They really enjoy it. It's fun. It's something they can do. And we've talked to some kids already. It's been very interesting to get the response out of it.
Yes.
Okay, now let's go to football. You're a three-sport man here.
Yes.
Education, wrestling, and now football.
Yes.
You're going to be working for Coach Gordon. Have you been out to historic Harmon Field?
Yes, I mean, that was one of the things that was kind of breathtaking when we went through the gates, and the superintendent was adamant about showing us the facility. It was real. It's phenomenal. And then you add what they're doing to it with the construction and also the track and field facility. It's a phenomenal.
It's a showpiece, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm proud to call mine now. But yeah, I'll be working with Coach Gordon and his staff. I've known Coach Gordon just through coaching, and most of the staff I've known them through coaching, and I'm real happy to get to work with him. He's a really nice guy, and I believe I'll be on the defensive side coaching linebackers.
Linebackers? Good. We need a little strength there. They had a good year last year. They've had some little faults in actually, but overall the team looked pretty good. And I think this year is going to be proud to be a Bulldog.
Yes.
Where are you from? And what schools have you taught at?
I am from Pawnee, Oklahoma. Before I got in education, I was in law enforcement, and I was a DARE officer. And once I decided to get in education and start coaching, I started at Pawnee, and my first love as far as coaching goes was wrestling. Coming straight out of college, I wrestled for 4 years in college. When I first started coaching, I started in Pawnee, and that's where I graduated, and that's where I'm from. And when I decided to be a head coach, I left Pawnee and took a head wrestling job in a place called Watonga, and of course I always coached the other sports, football and track, but that's where I first made my first bones, was as a head wrestling coach. Throughout the years, my football career kind of took off as far as on the coaching side, and eventually I worked myself into a head coaching position. But I've worked and coached at of course Pawnee, then Watonga, McAllister's, and Lawton schools. And Lawton schools, they have 3 different school districts inside, 3 different schools inside their school district. So I was, you might do track at one high school, you might do football at another high school, but I've worked as a head wrestling coach at Lawton Eisenhower, and coached football at Lawton MacArthur, and then Barnsdall, and back to Pawnee, and then that's where I came here. But like I said, I was a head football coach, and then decided to get back into wrestling as a head wrestling coach. And I was the head wrestling coach, offered a head wrestling coach, co-head coach job in Pawnee, and then we decided to go ahead and take the head wrestling position here, and everything seemed to be a better fit for us and our family at that point of our lives. So that's how we got here to Okmulgee.
And you said you went to Maryland, you went to school there, and then you came to Oklahoma State?
Yes, I wrestled in college at Maryland at a college called Morgan State University, a small Division I school, and wrestled there for 3 years, redshirted a year. Title IX, they dropped our program, so I finished up my last year of eligibility at Oklahoma State. And before, when they dropped the wrestling program the year they dropped it, I played football. so that way that I could still have a scholarship. So played football my last year, but decided to move back to Oklahoma because, of course, me and my wife are both from Oklahoma, and we finished up our eligibility there, and then that's when I got into law enforcement and started doing that. And once I got into education, that was I still hung on to my law enforcement career for a little bit. I did both jobs for about a year or two, and then went ahead and went full-time teaching and coaching.
Yeah, very good. Children today, are they different from 5 years ago? Or
children are, no. I don't think the children are different. I know the times and society is different, so a lot of times they come into the classroom with things that probably you or I didn't have to worry about coming in to classroom. We're having to deal with in life. But are children different? No, they just need lots of love and attention. Someone cares about them.
With all the technology out there today, the kids are a lot smarter with technology as they were years ago, and they're able to do things with the computers and able to ferret out the information a lot quicker. So, do you encourage them to use that, or you?
Absolutely, absolutely, and sometimes they teach me, and that's always. And I always tell my students, I always ask them, how do you know when you truly learn something? And that's when you can teach it. When you can teach it, then you really truly know it. So I encourage that, and I encourage them to teach and learn from each other as well.
Football. Back to football. What kind of training do you encourage your linebackers to get into? Weight training, speed training, running?
Well, as far as the linebacker position goes, you've got to have some explosiveness. So lots of whenever I'm running strength and conditioning, or whenever it's my turn to run that station, I always concentrate on some type of explosive lift or some type of explosive maneuver or drill where you use your hips and also your flexibility, and a fast start, stop, start type drill. And so when it comes to weights, we do a lot of clean lifts, jerks, and if it's running, we do a lot of change of direction or change your level from a higher position to a lower position. So that's real important with a linebacker position, being explosive.
And on the team, leadership is probably a key. Do you look for one person to be the leader of it, or do you look for a couple people to be leaders?
Leadership will change depending on the group. You'll get a group that will lead by example. You'll get a group that will also be vocal. And then there's sometimes you'll get that group where the leadership doesn't necessarily show itself in different position groupings. Then when you have that, as a coach, sometimes you got to be a leader as a coach and teach kids how to lead. Sometimes as a coach, you got to teach kids how to lead through example. And but there's all kinds of different ways to nurture leadership. It's just finding the right fit for the group of kids that you have, and when you find something that works, nurture.
After leaving Morgan State, you went to Oklahoma State, and you were coached under the great John Smith, weren't you?
Yes.
Tell us about John Smith.
Man, John Smith is probably the most intense wrestling coach I've ever been around. He's very intense. The competition level that he demands from you is unremarkable. I'm sure there's other wrestling coaches out there that I've never been coached under. I've had Coach Gable's coached against me. I've wrestled Iowa and I've wrestled some of those schools like that. But as far as being in the wrestling room, it was phenomenal. I was just there for a year, and also there was Jimmy Arias was there. He's an Okmulgee wrestler. He was there, but I was only in there for a year, and just coming from a small Division I school at Oklahoma State was kind of I wouldn't say intimidating, but I was starstruck, because there was Olympic wrestlers that would come through and work out, and guys that wrestle on the national circuit, and so yeah, there would be times I'd find myself, just really just watching other people work out. But it was a phenomenal experience to be at Oklahoma State. I learned a lot. I learned that, you know, it's as far as being that competitive, it was a whole different animal. You know, here on the high school level, you coach effort. Mm-hmm. As long as you give maximum effort, as long as you give 100% effort. You know, when kids talk about, well, I want to do this so I could go to the next level. Well, wrestling at the university is next level from college. And the thing that I learned when I wrestled on the next level is it's not always about effort. It's about results. So you could try your hardest and you could work your hardest, and it still is, did you win or did you lose? And that's what you mean when you're saying the next level. It's a very intense thing, and so going from a small Division I school to a powerhouse Division I school, that was also another step in my direction, and that kind of prepared me a lot for the sport of wrestling. You know, I've wrestled when I first started coaching high school. I also was coaching Little League wrestling before my kids were even old enough to wrestle. So I was able to coach 5-year-olds, 12-year-olds, and 18-year-olds. And I've been a head coach in Class 3A, which is the smallest in Oklahoma. And I've also been a head wrestling coach in the Class 6A level, which is the largest in Oklahoma. And I think wrestling in college has definitely prepared me to be able to see the things I need to see to be successful or help get kids to where they need to be.
Education. Did you think you did a good job with the kids, with your boys an all-stater? You said
yes. He'll wrestle the all-state wrestling matches on July 30th. So we're very proud of him, and that determination and hard work ethic that, you know, he's talking about, that you're talking about, we definitely see that in our son. And when you're asking him about what he requires or what he expects from the football players, what does he teach them, he always encourages football players to wrestle as well, because wrestling, I hear him tell his football players all the time, you need to wrestle. You need to wrestle because the skills that it teaches you, life skills as well as physical skills, they use that on the football field too. So I see that in our son, definitely. And people are always telling us what a wonderful young man he is. And of course, we'd like to take the credit for that, but a lot of it's him too. He has that hard work ethic within himself.
It's the effort that he put behind it to succeed. So
yes.
And you just kept encouraging, and that's what parents should do: encourage their children, you know, to succeed at whatever they do. They want to be an artist or a wrestler or a football player. Second graders can be sometimes a little demanding of you on your time, your teacher. How do you work with the kids? Because you. So-and-so wants your attention here, and then so-and-so wants your attention here.
It's like that for me 24/7.
We get a lot of practice at home.
Yes, we have that at home. We have an 18-year-old, a soon-to-be 13-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 1-year-old. So it's like that at home, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, that they're being kids, and you have to expect them to be kids, and so. In fact, I mean, that kind of energy they have, it energizes me. And when I'm in the classroom with them, I'm up and moving, and they're up and moving.
And here we have?
This is our 6-year-old, Max.
Max?
Yes, and he is also a wrestler.
You like it? What did you learn on wrestling?
I learned a single leg and a
double leg.
A double leg and
You learned to sit out?
You know how to tee out. What's your favorite move? What's your favorite wrestling move? How to take somebody down. The double leg?
Yeah.
Good. And how's your grades in school? You like school? What grade are you going to be going into this year?
First.
First grade. Very good. You've got all your teeth, I think, too.
Yeah. That's unusual for a first grader.
Yeah. Even though you don't like to smile. Very good. We appreciate you talking with us. Welcome to Okmulgee. And
Thank you.
We've got some new Bulldog coaches here and a family, so stop by and say hello to them all. And again, thank you. This is Paul Ross with the Okmulgee News Network, and we appreciate you watching us.